Good morning, everyone. Elaine Lowe and Ed Carson here, live from Investors Business Daily in Los Angeles. Today we're checking in on Apple, Boeing, and JPMorgan. But first, a look at the indexes, which are rebounding after the last 2 days of major sell-offs. We have the Dow retaking its 200-day line, up nearly 0.8% so far, but the S&P 500 and NASDAQ have still failed to retake that longer-term key level. The NASDAQ up 1.9% and the S&P 500 up about 1.1% so far today. So what's going on today, Ed?
Well, the markets are having a rebound, which is nice. I mean, the Dow fell 1,300 points over the last 2 days, so rising a little under 300 points today. The S&P 500, it's rebounding, but intraday it got above its 200-day line, but back down. I mean, I think we've seen a lot of volatility. You saw yesterday there was really big moves in the market up and down, and ultimately went down. Even if we do close strongly higher above these levels, it's 1 day. You keep in mind is that usually the best market days tend to happen in down markets, like that. So it's not. It doesn't necessarily mean that everything's back on track. You want to wait for a follow through, wait a few days to see really strong confirmation that a rally attempt is underway. So this is nice, but it's just the beginning.
And remind us what a follow-through day is.
Follow-through day is usually after the fourth day in a rally attempt. You see a really powerful move in higher volume than the prior day in one or more of the major averages. And also a lot of leading stocks are damaged. So even if we had a fall through quickly, there probably wouldn't be a whole lot to buy right away.
Okay. All right. Good to know. Keep that in mind, folks. Now let's move on to some individual headlines. We want to look at Apple, which no news headlines today, but some technical action as that stock retakes its 50-day moving average after the last 2 days of declines.
Yeah, Apple is definitely one of the better performing of the big techs out there. Apple, reclaiming its 50-day. A lot of these other stocks through the 50-day, through the 200-day. This one's looking okay. When we see the chart, Apple is actually the relative strength line, which shows how it's doing versus the S&P 500. That stock, that's actually at a record high. So even though Apple is, took a pretty good tumble over the last several sessions, it's actually outperforming the S&P 500, which again reflects how much the market is damaged. But this is the kind of thing where obviously Apple is always one to look at, but if the market does turn around, Apple is showing strength. And so, down the road, maybe this is a stock that you would want to take a look at.
And this one has an RS rating of 93. Remind us the difference between a relative strength line and a relative strength rating.
Well, the relative strength line compares the stock versus the S&P 500, and it's, you can move up and down little bits here and there. The relative strength rating, it's comparing it to all stocks, and it can be weighted more towards the last few months. But it's that's 1 through 99. So even though they're right there in the same spot,
it can vary a little bit.
It can vary a little bit.
Okay. And let's move on to Boeing. That stock also retaking its 50-day moving average today, although still notched out of buy range after breaking out of that flat base with a 364.64 entry point in mid-September.
Well, again, Boeing is another one that was holding up reasonably well before finally cracking in the last few days. It closed at its 50-day line. It's bounced a little bit, but it's near the session lows. Again, like the market averages today, it did try to get above a buy point, which investors should probably ignore because we're in a correction. But that's something to keep in mind. Is that like that? You see these intraday moves. We saw a big, nice open with a lot of stocks, and they're fading a little bit. See if that can, strengthen again, or if it can even or if it falters further. But again, Boeing has been one to watch. We'll see if if it can continue to do okay. But the market needs to get better. Even the best stocks will perform badly, usually in bad markets.
Right, which is good to remember. All right, and then moving on to some earnings, we have JPMorgan kicking off financial earnings. That name recording $2.34 a share in earnings on revenue of $27.82 billion, comfortably above views for $2.24 and $27.2 billion. What's the big picture on JPMorgan today?
I mean, well, JPMorgan, it's interesting because the stock, it opened a little higher, but it's not really doing a whole lot today. The interest rates have risen, but a lot of think, over the last several months, come back the last few days, the interest rates did help profits, but I think people already knew that. Oh, well, the yields had risen, maybe the spread had widened out between the short end and the long end.
So has that been kind of baked into the stock action recently?
It seems like it, and and people keep on hoping, oh, banks are going to lead us, banks are going to lead, but banks have not really historically, over the last 10, 15 years, they haven't had long periods of outperformance, and you can see how There was a brief, area where it looked like maybe JPMorgan was going to move out, break out, but even then its relative strength line really wasn't that strong, and it's broken down like just about every other stock.
Okay, then, and then we also have Citigroup earnings in today. Mixed results, beating on earnings, but missing on revenue.
Yeah, and that stock actually was doing a little better, but it's also finding resistance at levels. Wells Fargo, meanwhile, they missed on profit. That stock was sort of going sideways today.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks. For more information on all those stocks and more, make sure you're checking out investors.com, where we have all the latest updates and earnings results. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Don't forget to catch us across all of our social platforms. That's Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. Thanks for watching, everyone. We will be back bright and early Monday morning.